We're ready when you are.
Let's wait for Tom. There he is. We're ready, Tom?
Huh?
We're ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to welcome all of you to the October 14, 2020 Dyer Town Council meeting. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Alan.
Here.
Present.
Mary.
Here. Next, we have a public hearing for all three of the budgets. So we will begin with our 2021 proposed budget for the general and non-utility funds. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to, who has an objection or a remonstrance? Is there anyone that has an objection or a remonstrance? Is there anyone who has an objection or remonstrance? I will close the public hearing for 2021 proposed budget, general and non-utility funds. Next, I will open up the public hearing for the 2021 proposed budget for the water district. Is there anyone that has an objection or a remonstrance? Is there anyone that has an objection or remonstrance? Is there anyone that has an objection or remonstrance? I will close the 2021 proposed budget water district and open up the public hearing for the 2021 proposed budget for the sanitary district operating. Is there anyone that has an objection or a remonstrance? Is there anyone that has an objection or remonstrance? Is there anyone that has an objection or remonstrance? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing for the 2021 proposed budget sanitary district operating. We have before you a consent agenda consisting of the minutes of the August 13th, 2020 Town Council meeting, minutes of the September 16th Town Council meeting, minutes of the September 16th, 2020 Town Council executive session, and claims totaling $1,096,331.20. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. I want to thank Jackie for taking care of the minutes for our review. Why is there no general discussion listed within the minutes, no outline of it, or just any general remarks?
It's been always action.
Pardon me?
It's always been action. But it's the action taken on.
Okay.
That's
Pardon me?
years back.
A few years back this year?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
2014 it started.
In 14? Yeah, there's nothing stopping us from adding some general outline on discussion in there? Is there?
How it came about, and you can decide how you want your minutes.
Mhm.
Minutes got very long, and they weren't, you're either gonna have a transcript of a meeting, or you're gonna have a summary of a meeting. Every time you do a summary, this person didn't like, that's not what I meant, and everything else. So a decision was made by the council.
Action
some time
only.
back to just basically keep it at an action level. There's recordings of the minutes and things like that. That was sort of the trade-off. That's how the decision was made way back when.
And plus it was a request, if I remember correctly, the clerk treasurer wanted it like that because the minutes were getting so lengthy.
Any other discussion?
I would make, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just noticed on the executive session, you have a 7 o'clock start time and a 6:30 end time. I know
That was my comment.
started at 7:30 probably.
Quick meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my only statement as well.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Announcements. Halloween trick or treat hours will be October 31st, 5 to 7. That's a Saturday night. Approval of the 2021 budget ordinance. Town Council special meeting on 10/28/20 at 6 p.m. and a bond issue public hearing November the 11th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Next on the agenda, we have reports. Town Council, Bob,
I have nothing at this time.
Alan,
I have nothing at this time also.
Steve?
Yeah, I just, without going on too much, I'll just be very quick. I know I've expressed my concerns and dissatisfaction on the change of attorneys. I understand the rights of the majority to select who they choose. I just wish you would have done some background check because I've asked for resumes. The simple background checks that I've done, there was a newspaper report from the Times on the attorney that you selected. And it seemed that there was some issues that was posted online that was very outside the normal. Some might even call it radical. And the results of that was he was in line for a judgeship. And I believe based on the article, the Republican leadership, including the governor, Republican governor, did not support him after that. And the law firm let him go. So there's some serious issues, very serious issues. And I believe based on those issues, he would not be able to represent not only myself and Eric, and I'm speaking on my behalf, I believe won't be able to represent half of the town for some of the things that he said. So based on that, I would respectfully suggest that we accept his resignation and select if we would like to have a discussion on it, that's great. If you guys want to exercise your right as the 3 majority, that's your right too. That's all I got to say on that. The other issue is I've been working on alternative for the bike trail. Since we're having problems with our friends on the railroad and working with them, I still got one last option. I'm gonna work with our manager, Tom DiGiulio, see if we can write a nice letter and appeal to their new president. They moved to Norfolk Southern out of Norfolk, Virginia down to Georgia, and see if we can appeal to his Rails to Trails side. If not, then I'm working with Cherville on an alternative. The other issue I want to speak up about, I told about to the parks, is the trail going around Pheasant Hill Lake. I have a business leader in our community and a group of citizens who are active in biking and walking that are willing to help donate some money toward this trail to help pay for it and even do fundraisers. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric?
I'd like to echo Councilman Kramer's comments on our new town attorney. In addition to what Councilman Kramer said, I just feel that the process was not, our current attorney at the time did not deserve the process that he received. After 16 years as our attorney, I feel that you could have asked for his resignation. I understand the power of the majority. I'm not arguing with the power of the majority. You could have asked for his resignation. I could have allowed him to go out in under good terms. I feel that was not appropriate. Beyond that, I'd like to thank Dyer residents who participated in our comprehensive plan, either in person or online. Thought it was a good discussion. And comments are still welcome until I believe it's the end of this month. I believe they're closing down comments. So if you haven't had a chance to participate, you can look and see what the comp plan is looking like and make your comments, have your voice be heard. Finally, saw on Facebook, our police department did a wonderful job with their senior care program where they do wellness checks. They were able to help a senior who was having medical problems, possibly save that person's life. So again, outstanding job by our police department. If anybody knows someone that needs help in that program or needs a role in that program, you can call the police department at 219-865-1163. That's all I've got.
Thank you. I would also like to tell everyone that we had a meeting yesterday with the RDA, and it was Scott Jefferson, member of the Plan Commission and our appointee, and Mr. DiGiulio and myself. And it was good to see this plan. We looked at it for an hour. It's going to be presented publicly in the next 2 months, but it was good to see that our comp plan had coordinated with them, because there were aspects of our comp plan right in their plan for the TDD. The next thing, the AIM Summit. We were a presenter at the AIM Summit last week, and I did want to thank the following: Jessica Chick, who works in our office, and Mike O'Shea, Pat Rosenwinkel, and Frank for doing a great job. We had an hour-long presentation that was presented throughout the state, and it kind of gave us, let people know where Dyer is on the map. So I appreciated all their help in presenting that. Next, we have the clerk treasurer. Anything?
Yes, I want to thank Jeff Dvorak and Tom Gilio. We worked diligently on our payroll system to kick off this last payroll to evenly divide what people do out of public works. And Jeff chimed in at any time of what their jobs are and where they're getting paid from. The same thing in my office and Tom's office, as I discovered there was people underneath my payroll that was in the parks and that were secretaries, board, and commissions on that payroll. But we got everything in the right direction, so we're kicking off the first year in a wonderful situation and saving the waste district, is it? Yes, waste district, correct, Tom?
I'm sorry, what?
The waste sanitary district, we're saving money in that area for salaries.
Well, we don't have any salaries left in
Correct,
sanitary
like we did.
district. We transferred all of them.
So that's all I have, and thank you, gentlemen, for working on that with me, because that was always something that the councilman and I always wanted to see, but we just never saw it.
Okay, thank you. Town manager?
Just a brief update on the bridge. They're done. They're finished the pilings, which is all the noise. So
Yeah.
Grains left, and they'll start next week. They'll start doing the storm sewer and some of the structures, so things will go on. They really got more than half the bridge done, so this will be a little quicker, and certainly is better for the detour, because now the people coming north are on a real structure.
Yes, yes.
In trouble, so things are moving along. Mary covered the. That's really about it. That's all I think I've got.
When are they anticipating finishing the bridge? Not until December?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty.
Still on schedule. It's not what any resident wants. It's on schedule.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not going to be done by Veterans Day.
Right.
Thank you. Boards and commissions. Frank, anything from?
On our sanitary side, we finished up on our sanitary line repairs on our on the open cuts, as well as the slip lining, some restoration left on the open cuts. A lot of other energies going in on the staff and engineer level, and on the financial side and legal side regarding the a bond issue project that we're looking for right now, that we're working on for infrastructure and water source redundancies, as well as general system repairs. So there's a lot of effort going into that right now. So that's what we have right now. A lot going on.
Okay, thank you. Dan, do you have anything from Parks? Okay, thank you. Any other board or commission? Department heads. Chief?
Thank you. Activity for the month of September was 808 incidents, slightly down from the previous one. 48 arrests, 26 accidents, 196 citations, 317 warnings, and 16 ordinance violations. later in the program, you'll see our vehicle assessment was done for the year. Kind of an odd year with the delay of the 19 vehicle purchases. It felt like we just did this not too long ago. But what you had before you later on is actually the 2020 vehicle request. K9 graduated and is working the streets now. It's K9 Odin. So we now have a dog on nights and a dog on day shift to balance out our patrol division. Excuse me. I believe I thought when I was coming back in, kudos for the senior call program from Councilman Schultz. That call that particular day was exactly what the program was designed for.
Right.
Thank you for the recognition. Everybody kind of took a victory on that one. But most importantly, for the senior resident that we were able to help and get.
Who makes the calls? Is it people from the police department, or do you have volunteers do that?
We hope the program will eventually morph into some people coming in and volunteering and helping out, but right now it's our personnel.
Okay.
They sign them up, they call, they've actually become on such a first name basis and friends with the call list that it's actually a pretty nice routine. And if we don't make contact on a particular time that's slotted, then we send a patrol unit by to check on them. In this particular case, there was no answer at the door, and upon a walk around, it heard her yelling from the floor.
Oh my.
So time wise, could have been a day and a half. We're not really sure, but it was exactly what the program was for. We're very, very pleased with that. Commission meeting's canceled for tomorrow. There was a overlap of another meeting, so we're moving with lack of much new business, moving it to November. And Halloween patrol, we're all set. We'll probably, if the weather's nice, we'll probably bike patrols, ATVs. We'll probably have everything deployed that night.
Okay. Do you have any donations?
Not that
Okay.
I see on the list.
Okay. Just thought I'd check. Mike?
Over at Central Park, the improvement project is going on the side of the way down on the fourth ball field over there. Some of the walking path has been laid down, but you can definitely see a footprint out there of that north end so far. So good as of right now. Sunday, we are doing our Halloween parade. We moved it from Elmer Miller Park, where what we passed over to Seven Hills, just for more space. Saturday, we are going through with our mural painting back on the pump house for Elmer Miller Park back here. So we're working with Pastor Dave over at Church. We also are our Dyer group. And then other park board wise, we just started a design contract for the park improvement project for Pheasant Hill and Cherry Hill. That's all.
Is there anything that would prohibit the painting on Saturday other than frost?
Oh, well, rain.
Okay.
Rain. There's no rain or anything like that, but the building, Jeff helped out with getting some fixes done at the building.
Okay.
And some of the park guys primed it, painted it, and stuff. So everything will be ready to go with the painting. We'll be out here doing sketching here in the next couple of days.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff?
Just again, leaf removal beginning on Monday, on the same schedule. Then we do our branch removal schedule, basically the same schedule around town. 5 hours Monday through Friday. That'll continue through all the weeks, probably from end of November, beginning of December. Other than that, we have sidewalk repairs for 2020 have been completed. Now these are the sidewalk repairs are outside road projects or facility projects that we have.
And they are all over town.
They're all over the town.
They sure are.
All been completed. Now there is still one section that is needs to be finished up between Deer Trail, Lane, and 77th on the west side. However, there's some stormwater work that's done prior to that. But once that stormwater work is done, which is next Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll schedule that sidewalk install. You can see it's where it's there's two like barricades.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Pretty much it right now for public works.
Thank you. Road projects. Neil?
Evening.
Good evening.
We have the 2020 local projects, and those are the Ridgewood Court, Wood, Chateau Drive, cul-de-sac, and Forest Park. The concrete curb flat work is being completed, and they're going to start milling Friday in through Monday, and then next week they're going to be putting the tack coat and surface down on that. So that's our locally funded work. And as Jeff had mentioned, there is ADA ramps and sidewalks that are being replaced as part of that. That should already be done as of this week. The Northgate project, the paving should be done by the end of today. It was going on at about 2:30, 3 o'clock when I talked earlier. So we'll be looking for the punch list and the closeout of that, so we can be compliant with INDOT for community crossings on that by December, so we can process final change order, pay request, and then we'll work with Deb and her office, the clerk treasurer, to get those canceled checks as we've done in the past, and make sure we're consistent with INDOT for that. The Pager ratings, as we talked before, need to be updated every year. We've got to submit those by December 1st, so we're going to start working on that probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll provide that update to LTAP for them to approve it. So we'll be good for the entire 2021 construction application season for those 50/50 grants. We do have the patching that's part of what Jeff and Mike in my office have worked out for the Walsh and Kelly work that they're doing as part of the local project. That's being scheduled, but we have them on priority to finish up the local resurfacing projects up on the west side of Hart Street, Sheffield. The 2020-2 application is something that Tom has on the agenda for later, so we can either talk about it now or I can wait till then.
You talk about it now.
Okay, we took the list from the May 14th, I believe it was, memo that Tom had forwarded around that we had reviewed at that point. And the remaining amount of match we have available is $346,000 and change. And the total project cost is estimated to be $703,000. So we're just over what that match amount would be. And Tom and I have been in contact with INDOT regarding the current status of our application. They've made a couple recommendations, and we've actually changed those as of today. So based on what your recommendation and approval is for those 2020-2 CCMG projects, we'll complete that, get a revised financial commitment letter from Tom, and then upload that so that hopefully by Friday, but next Friday, the 23rd, I believe it is the deadline for those. But we had the application in at 5 minutes after 8 o'clock on the first day it was available. So we got a good low number. But if you guys got any questions on that, that list is Rocas 215, Deer Trail Drive, High Point Trail, Squire Perry, and Barringer.
Okay.
Any questions?
Sounds good. Thank you. Any
Okay,
questions?
thanks so much.
Any questions? Okay.
Well, are we going to go over the fire report?
Fire, we haven't gotten down that far yet.
Department head reports.
Department.
It was buried underneath the
Where's that?
Department of Public Works.
There's nobody here from the fire department.
Oh.
Do you have a question, Steve?
Uh,
Or something like that, give an answer?
you probably could. How about if I just ask for some information, and if the others would like it, they can get it too. I'd like an updated list of our fire department employees and how long each one has been there. Their respected positions and pay for each position. And if we have any open positions. And I think that would help answer my questions. Thank you, Tom.
We'll get that for you.
Anybody else have a question? Okay.
Thank
Moving
you.
on to ordinances. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just saying thank you.
Okay. Ordinances and resolutions. We have ordinance 2020-9 authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds. I will ask you for a motion to approve on first reading an ordinance of the town of Dyer, Indiana, authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of the town for the purpose of providing funds to be used for the cost of construction of infrastructure and public facility improvements, together with all necessary apertures and related improvements and equipment in the connection therewith. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
And Tom, just to be clear, so this here is just authorizing the sale, not appropriating.
No,
how it's going to be spent.
what this does is sets up for, the day is it the 11th, I think? Yeah, the 11th, when we have the public hearing, and that's when you'll do the appropriations. You'll have a
List.
preliminary appropriations, you'll hold the public hearing, and after the public hearing, you'll then adopt the confirmatory appropriation. Those appropriations are then permanent for the life of the bond issue. So until they're expended, they're continuous appropriations. There's nothing specifically linked to certain projects other than what I gave you some time ago. But in all the documents, you make it as broad as possible so you could have flexibility in terms of spending the money. Most of this money will end up in the infrastructure category because of the amount of work that we're doing and everything else. And the public facilities improvements that we're talking about, it's a combination of bond issue money and some TIP money to get those jobs done. And maybe spread out over a year or two. We're going to try actually to get the boiler done this year because we were lucky last year, I think, getting through the winter. It was 2-3 years past its life expectancy. So we're going to do the boiler work now. And then that's sort of a standalone project because it doesn't affect any of the offices. It's all downstairs. So hopefully you'll have that bid in the next couple of meetings.
And then my second question, I believe we had talked before, this is just on the back end of another bond that's being phased out.
Right. We got this, these issues are 3 years right now. We're going to eventually move to 2 as we get rid of some old bond issues from the mid-teens. We still got to retire those. And then we'll go to a 2-year issue where you're essentially retiring $1 million every year out of a $2 million issue and rolling them over. So the plan is, this is the 2020, the next set of projects move into play, but we schedule them so that we want to get it sold before the end of the year. Construction money is available for 2021, and then do the same thing next year, get it sold and get going. So you sell it by the end of the year, it rolls into the tax rate, and the budget's been predicated on these things being sold. If I remember right, I'm gonna have to look, but I think there's no or very, very minimal impact on the debt rate for this bond issue. The park one, if you remember the old program, was one more step up, 5 or 6 cents, and of course the water issue is it sort of stands on its own. We retire 3 cents and go to a different number. I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's all part of the program. So that you will see an increase in bills, but you'll also start to see even more work than we're able to get done right now. So these are.
From this particular bond, we won't see an increase in bills overall if the water bond and the
water bond and when I talk about increase in bills next year, 2020 payable 2021, the tax rate for the water bond will go on that bill, if you will. This one has no impact because it's retired and people want it.
That was my understanding.
This one is okay. This one's flat and should continue to be flat for a period of time because we got rid of this old stuff from 10 and 15 and those are long 10-year issues that drug out there and we're getting rid of them.
Okay. That was my understanding.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear. So thank you.
Still the same way.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. I'd like to suspend the rules and pass it on the second reading. Ordinance number 2020-10, an ordinance of the town of Dyer appropriating the proceeds of the general obligation bonds of 2020.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye, passes 5-0. Next, we have ordinance 2020-10, appropriating the proceeds of the GO bond on first reading only. It is an ordinance of the town of Dyer appropriating the proceeds of the general bond obligations of 2020.
I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I did have some discussion. I've got to find the page though.
Okay.
That one.
got the
The
whole document.
document itself there.
Yeah, I've got the whole
Okay.
document. Actually, on this one, I do not have any questions or comments.
This one, the public hearing notice will go out tomorrow for the 11th, and then it will do the same thing to give you a presentation.
Okay,
Everything you did tonight.
any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Edward,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Next, we have Resolution 2020-18, the transfer of funds. Debbie, you want to explain this one?
Yes, we're just moving, 15,000 at the chief's request from fund clerical help to the other counter services. And when you do this, you need a resolution because you're going from 101-203-00-103 clerical help to 101-201-00.398. And we have that for 15,561 clerical again to rental equipment and 25,000 from officer salaries to other equipment.
A motion to pass resolution 2020-18, transfer of funds pursuant to IC 6-1.1-18-6.
Is there a
That
second?
motion?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Madam
Passes
President,
5-0.
Ms. Tanis,
Yes.
would there be any objection if these things are put on the consent agenda? If you want us to go through them, because they're basically housekeeping.
Right.
Do you have a problem with that, or you want them here? It doesn't make any difference.
I'd be comfortable with it being in a consent agenda, with those all understanding that it could be pulled out the day of the meeting.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody?
I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
that's
That's
fine.
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 Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's fine.
This will have to go on the next meeting for housekeeping, but they're coming to your end.
Right. We used to have more of them and now we have very few, but that's fine to put them in the consent.
Well, I always used to object to all of them through, all the time, but now I understand, because you can decide where.
Sure.
to hold on to it. So it's better just to keep them up to date.
Next on the agenda, we have the CCMG application we've already done. Thank you, Neil. Anything you want to add?
No.
You're good. Next, we have the town attorney, the agreement retroactive to 9/16/2020.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Hey, Neil, just a question. I noticed the cost per foot difference. There was one street, 75.11 per foot, another is 114.96 per foot. Is that the level of the grind necessary, or is that curb work? What causes the cost per foot to be more for some of these streets?
Yes to all. There's additional detailing, there's additional catch basin repairs that we do 10 foot either side, curb repairs, ADA ramps, and usually the shorter the street, the less of those we have, but on some of the longer ones, and the older ones, what we have is upheave from trees and those kind of things that damage the sidewalk, and that's exactly where those come from. And you'll see they range from 75 to 114, and that's exactly why, because each street just needs a little bit different TLC.
Okay, thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving right along to the a town attorney agreement retroactive to 9/16/2020. Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town attorney's contract as presented in our file with an agreement retroactive to 9/16/2020.
You have a
I'll-
second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have a couple issues I'd like to go over. One is, and I'll just start from the general view of this agreement. One is, this is an Illinois firm, so we're going from Indiana to an Illinois firm. I believe he's in a satellite office in Indiana.
Please go ahead, Neil.
Excuse me, before you talk, could you wear your mask like everyone else over your face and nose? That helps protect everyone. Okay. No, it's okay.
The main office of the firm is in Chicago. We have an Indiana office that's permanently staffed with both attorneys and a full staff. I myself am licensed in both states. I am out of the Indiana office. I am a local attorney.
Okay, the other one is, it says your rates are periodically adjusted and generally at the beginning of the calendar year. So does that part mean you can adjust it every year, anytime you want?
No, it doesn't. It would be with the client's approval, of course.
Well, I hear you, but I don't see it written in here. I'm just reading verbatim what it says. And then the other one is where it says you will submit all bills to the town and that you believe are pertinent to what is covered in this document. And if the town doesn't pay in 30 days, you're charging interest on those bills too.
That's how we do it with all our clients.
Okay, I just don't remember seeing that. So my other issue is, listen, everyone's got their opinions. Of my expectation and my knowledge of attorneys I hold in high standard. Most attorneys have political views, most of them have personal views, and they tend to keep them to themselves. Don't let it interfere with others. And as we research you, and I don't know if the other council members did.
This has nothing to do with this contract.
It does. Hang on a second. I'm talking. I will not interrupt you, so please give me the opportunity. And this is important because if you're going to be an attorney or representing us, I'd like someone who's going to represent myself and probably damn near half of the town of Dyer, which, as you write, you call the left. Some people call the Democrats the left, Republicans the right, but you call them the left. And let's read what you wrote. The left is a mindless,
We're
heartless,
way off the course
bloodthirsty
here.
mob marching, lock and
No, we'll have
set
to
out to
call the
destroy
question. We'll
anyone
have to
who
cease
doubts
discussion.
an uncompromised and
Cease
ever-changing
discussion.
orthodoxy. It must
Cease
be
discussion.
stopped at all
Madam President,
costs.
We have a
call the
motion and a
question.
second.
So the question is, and that's your writing.
We have a
verbatim,
motion and a second on the
quotes.
floor.
We have discussion.
Cease discussion.
And
We
I
have
haven't
ceased
heard a motion
discussion.
to
Yes.
end discussion or debate on this.
Call the question.
They called the question.
Are you making a
They
motion to end
called the
debate?
motion. Call the
That's what call the
question.
question is. We're ending debate.
Okay. And you do realize under Robert's Rule of Order, and I'm hoping the attorney recognizes that too, takes 2/3 of a vote. So seeing that I don't believe they have 2/3, I will continue on. Since
The chair
we-
called the question. This is a point of order.
Thank you.
okay.
May we have a
Our-
roll call, please?
I'd like to offer discussion on this. I have questions about the contract.
Okay.
The question's been called. You can reopen the floor.
I can reopen the floor to you.
I have a question about the arbitration disputes. What is the purpose, the benefit to either party to determine which firm, where we will take immediate mediation if we have a dispute between?
It's not a mediation, it's an arbitration, which is a binding decision rather than a mediation, which is an attempt to get the parties to settle. Again, this is a provision we have with all our clients. It is to remove the dispute from court and a public forum and have it resolved through arbitration, which is generally cheaper and quicker than a litigation.
I have no objection with a mediation or an arbitration agreement. My question is, this spells out where we will take this. We'll take this to ADR Systems, 20 North Clark Street, Chicago. Why not mutually agree upon a firm, a location for the mediation or arbitration?
Well, that is an arbitrating system. It's a third-party neutral. It's governed by the AAA rules, and it's staffed mostly by retired judges. It's been a forum.
And I just ask that we leave it open to a mutually agreed upon arbitrator for any cases instead of one that's chosen by your law firm and not the town council.
It's entirely the council's decision whether they want to modify that provision of the agreement.
Do you have any modification?
See, if you're going for arbitrators, it's the same as going for a judge. I suspect the judges would be honest and fair to the town.
I would hope so too. I would agree.
Bob, do you have any issue with having a mutually agreed upon arbitrator versus one that's chosen by the town
How often
attorney?
is this something that we enter into? No, the arbitration. Tom, have you?
Arbitration or mediation is done obviously when you're at impasse. And I've been involved in a number of mediations as an alternative dispute resolution. Arbitration, I'm more familiar with on the labor relations side. When you present your case into a two-mutual arbitration. From what Adam is talking about with his group, it says it's an independent third body and they'll assign an arbitrator. Now, I can't speak to what's on our side of the line or that type of stuff. It's always one of those. Let's hope you don't get to that. But you want, it's like any dispute. You want to do it while the parties are not in dispute. So that you
Yes.
don't go in.
Solve the problem
You don't
before.
be fighting over that on top of everything else is my point.
Correct.
No, I think it's a legitimate issue that Councilman Schultz brings up. If the council in whole would have a choice on where they would go, I think it would bond to be a little bit better.
I don't see that there's a problem at all.
And when you choose local attorneys as arbitrators, they tend to be more familiar with the parties.
Right.
That's the advantage of doing it in Chicago, from my perspective.
Hey,
An outsider,
I share
an
the opposite
outsider.
concern. Your firm is from Chicago. I prefer to be able to have the option, maybe to choose a firm in Chicago, maybe to choose a firm in Indiana. I just think it's good to keep our options open as a council instead
Can we
of
open
defer
it to
the
both
attorney.
states arbitration?
I'm sorry, Mayor. what did you say?
The council can vote to modify the agreement how it chooses. I would just, if you, and I'm in the opposition of giving legal
Yes.
advice to someone I'm negotiating with, is modify by handwriting whatever provisions the council wants to change.
Okay, that we use both states as arbitration, we can put that in there?
At the council's discretion, I think is what you're.
Right, right.
Mutually agreed upon.
Right,
Okay,
right.
Fine with
okay.
mutually agreed upon.
I'm okay with that.
That's fine, that's fine.
And I don't think our firms have a problem.
Anybody
Next,
else?
in your previous comment brings me to my next comment. Your firm says, we recommend that the town seek the advice of independent counsel before signing this engagement letter. Has the council done that? Have we reached out to a law firm to look this over, or are we just taking it as is?
We have not.
And it's the way that it is.
That's unfortunate. It also says, please advise us in writing within 14 days receipt of this letter. So this is actually a moot point because this letter was dated September 14th. And we have not put anything in writing to any objections to this letter.
Well, it hasn't been signed by you. It's
Correct.
an engagement letter.
Yes.
We will assume that the town agrees to all the terms of our representation as set forth herein if we don't receive any writing stating otherwise as noted above. I don't understand, how did someone at the town hall receive this September 14th and we just received it as a town council a couple of days ago? And we had a vote on this matter on the 16th to approve this contract.
Well, you received, you amended the contract.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, and it
Okay.
didn't amend the date line. So
Okay.
It was actually sent this past Friday.
Okay, that's what I
It's
thought.
Still within the 14 days.
Okay,
That's all I have.
okay. Any other questions?
No.
We have a motion on the floor in a second. And we have,
What are we doing with the arbitration? Anything would change?
If there's a motion to amend the agreement, the board can entertain that. Otherwise, it's how the board wants to move on that.
okay.
So do we want
Do you
to?
wish to amend
Do we,
the
yeah, do we
motion?
want to table this and make a motion to amend the arbitration of disputes, the location to be,
And present it
To
on
be
the 28th?
Mutually agreeable.
yeah. No, I mean, we can make this amendment to the arbitration, then
Okay,
that's that.
all right. You want to make that amendment?
Right, Eric, what verbiage did you like with that?
They say such dispute shall be determined through binding arbitration. I'm fine with that. With the mediation / arbitration services, I would suggest of a mutually agreed upon arbitrator.
Is that acceptable? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and amend it.
Then I'll make that motion to amend to reflect the statement by Councilman Schultz.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
My quotes come from the American Thinker. If you want to see what that is, and it's a no. And if there is any other discussion, I prefer that you talk to me privately.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now I will make a motion to accept the town attorney's agreement retroactive to the date of 9/16/22. I'm sorry, 2020.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye. Going on to the reappointment of Scott Jefferson to the RDA Transit Development District Steering Committee. I made that appointment. I can make that as the town council president. I think he's done a fine job, and he did represent us very well yesterday in our meeting as well. So do we need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve Scott Jefferson to the RDA Transit Development Steering District.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
My only discussion would be, I don't know that it's your appointment. I don't know that we need to make a motion.
It's on here because it's your appointment.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have to do that. Okay. Okay.
By statute.
Okay. He's on plan commission with us. Yeah. In the new,
Appointment as a matter of record.
yes. In new business with have the FSLA question of firefighter compensation.
I'd like you to defer that to the next meeting. We're still talking about stuff.
Okay.
We had a meeting yesterday. We got to some point and I came up with some ideas and we're going to keep talking about it. We'll get your resolution.
We have the Baker Tilly agreements, water, park, and go bonds.
Right, actually, you have, there's 3 separate agreements. Utility board will take care of theirs tomorrow night. Parks took care of theirs last night. This basically to show you there's all 3 agreements. You need to adopt the one regarding the GO bonds, and that's the one that we directly pay for. So they're all $25,000 service fee for the bond sale. That's fairly consistent. The other thing that's in there is to talk about, time and expense, are periodic reports that have to be filed with the, typically the SEC and that kind of stuff, the continuing disclosures and everything else. And we have, they perform that service. They do all the calculations. We report if there's any material changes or anything else like that, and then submit them. So those are based on an hourly basis for the people doing those reports.
Can we do this on one motion, or do we have to have one for each one?
No, actually, if you just, when I first started writing it,
okay,
you can just adopt the
For the civil town bill.
just for the civil town.
Okay,
The
all
other
right.
ones are just there for your information.
Okay, all right. So I need a motion to execute the services agreement with Baker Tilly for the 2020 Civil Town GO bond.
So motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Just verify you did the first motion. There's 2 voices.
Bob got it.
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Next, we have Pheasant Hills Pond. We have a contract with Cardno Environmental Services. We need a motion to approve the use of, or authorize the use of $9,625 from the seeded funds for its share of the plan to improve Pheasant Hills Pond.
This will give us a plan for next year.
Okay, so we're looking at a professional to give us some guidelines and outlines on how to move forward.
They'll essentially look at the pond from their perspective, review what has been done in the past, and we'll work with the park board to make sure that there's no conflicts, if you will. But then we'll present you a plan for fixing the place up.
Great.
It'll be involved more than just throwing some enzymes in order what to do with it. But at least you'll have a plan. And it'll likely be a plan that'll be done over a period of years, as you generally do with environmental stuff. You plant stuff in phases, and over 3 to 5 years, if you do wetlands, there's a 5-year test. And the first couple of years, you go back in and replant, and then you see how it takes off. And if it reaches a certain threshold, it's been a successful project. So that you'll at least have a plan. Stormwater board will approve this hopefully whenever their meeting is in a couple of weeks. And we'll be moving on.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you. We've been working on this for quite a while, and I know the whole council had approved to try to get something done this year, but
I know what to get done.
yeah.
I don't like going down the blind,
Yeah.
This gives us a report to
Okay.
get done, and you can decide how much you want to do.
Steve, would you like to make that motion?
Absolutely. I'll make the motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Do we have any idea how long it'd take and how quick we will get a report?
No, but I can find out, because they want to know when we approved it.
Okay.
And what I'll try to do is get a schedule from 30 days after approval, that kind of stuff, so you know when it happens. So.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Yep,
We have
good.
a motion and a second. And we have a roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Next, we have purchase award police vehicles and equipment. We need to award the acquisition of 3 marked 2021 Ford SUVs in the amount of $101,475.75 from Bloomington Ford. 1 marked 2021 Dodge Ram in the amount of $31,000 from Bloomington Ford. All equipment necessary for reading the vehicles for road use in, is it reading or readying? Readying,
It should be readying.
Ready condition, yeah.
readying the vehicles, okay.
I apologize.
For road use in the amount of $60,386.72 from Public Safety Direct. The purchase of computers, ticket equipment, and installation for all 4 vehicles from Intelliplex for the amount of $16,000. And the purchase of 2 mobile radios from Motorola Electronics in the amount of $6,939.36. And to authorize the town managers to secure LP funds from publicfinance.com for the above purchase.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think, Dave, these are on a lot, right?
No,
Oh, they're not?
no,
Okay,
correct. This would be a lot sooner than last year.
yeah. Last year there were interminable delays. And remember, I think it was fire department came across a vehicle that they were going to, I had them on the lot. Somebody else backed out of an earlier sale, so they didn't
Oh.
pick that one up. So-
Yeah,
So we'll have everything ready for you, and I'll work with Public Finance to get the police force.
Once the order's placed, we may hear of them being on the lot or being canceled order somewhere. But as of right now, if we were to order them in September, they would have been delivery October, November.
mhm,
So I'm assuming now we'll get it in either November, December, or
okay.
right in the first of the year.
Motion and a second. Do we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Next, we have citizen input. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Stan Parkinson. I live 210 Buttercup Lane in High Point, Colorado. Here is, I wish to extend, okay, from 3 months to 5 months. The exemption as far as the tax that's being charged for watering shrubbery and grass and that. The individuals who have homes that have 2 meters, they're being subsidized by homes that have 1 meter. Because if you water your lawn before May 18th or after August 18th, you're paying a surtax, whereas the homes that have 2 meters, by their choice, are not paying that tax. Taxes that spread unevenly between homes, and that should be adjusted by extending that period of time from May 18th to August 18th, to go from May 1st to September 30th. So that could be adjusted. There's nothing has to be done with the programming of this because the program's already set in place, establishing average usage of water over the winter time. And I would like to see this enacted before next year. Thank you.
Interesting.
Well, it's not quite as easy as that. Your rate structure is predicated on a summer discount. If you adjust that summer discount, it has a financial impact that you have to consider for all the ratepayers. The fact that if I choose to have a sprinkler meter, now new houses are required to have a separate sprinkler meter. It's the homeowner's choice. Any homeowner can have 2 meters, a sprinkler meter and a household meter. And if you have a sprinkler meter, there's some plumbing additions to it that go through it, but then you save from this particular problem.
Okay.
So it's not like there isn't an option for them. Okay, so I'm just saying, when you're doing your rate study, if you decide to make that a condition, then we've got to go back and figure out what the implications of it are. Maybe small, maybe big. I don't know. I don't have any answer to it. But I do know when you subsidize somebody, it's a zero-sum game. Somebody else is going to pay for it.
Sure.
The rates haven't been adjusted. It's the end of the summer discount. And it occurs every year this time of the year when these bills go out. And then they revert back. And then part of it's been a drought. You've been watering your yard. I'm putting in new landscaping. I'm out there sprinkling almost every night on the flowers and, hoping for rain to come now. But that's what happens.
Does that answer your question?
It explains it, doesn't help.
Okay. I understand that you want.
Yeah, what it does is, it's still, as I stated, it's taxing one individual because a person decided to make the choice to have 2 meters or not. And the 2 meter option by a person, it isn't because he's looking at the tax structure. He's looking at not having to drag out hoses. That's his prerogative. He doesn't have to drag out, just goes to switch, the water comes out. And what we should be doing, taxing as a municipality, is charging for water that's put on a grass equal, okay? So if I put a gallon of water on my lawn, you put a gallon of water on your lawn, just because you have a sprinkler system, doesn't mean that you shouldn't have to pay, and I have to pay.
But during the summer discount period, you are.
It isn't a discount period. The other people don't pay. Do you know what a discount is?
Do I?
A discount, yeah.
Sir, you want to let me finish?
Okay.
Let me try to explain it to you. And if I'm incorrect, I stand corrected if you could do that. Everybody gets a summer discount during that period of time. The fact that when you water your lawn, you're not paying the sewer tax for the very reason you said. It's going on the grass. But that period ends at some point in time. And it does that, it's set up that way everywhere. So it's not a tax per se, it's a user fee that's out there that you have a choice of, if you don't water your yard, then you don't pay for it. But we all get that discount during the summertime. That's a fact. Sure.
Sir, I would also encourage you to make sure that there's something wrong with what's going on, talk to a lawyer. They will be able to give you advice.
If you have 2 meters in your house.
Yeah.
Does the discount end on August 18th.
Yeah, yeah,
Those people,
because you see there's never a sewer charge on the sprinkler meter, second meter that we're talking about. Yeah, because that and those things are shut off. Oh wait, let me rethink that. I think.
So what happens on the sprinkler meter
Yeah.
is you're just charged for the water and the tax. On a household meter, you're charged for all the charges,
Yeah.
but during the summer rates, we discount that wastewater charge based on your winter usage. So that extra that you would normally get charged, we give you a discount during those summer months.
So the second meter.
It's
Yeah.
just the water and the tax.
Right. That's
You get
something.
charged.
so when you use the word discount, the people who have 2 meters
Right.
really don't sit it.
No, they're still paying full price for water and then the tax.
No, I'm not talking about the one, I'm talking about the
Sewer.
sewer.
Yeah,
There is no sewer on that side.
Right, so really, those people never pay using that meter for sewer.
Correct.
But the people that have 1 meter, they do pay after that discount period. And that's taxation for one group of people, how the water comes out of a faucet versus how the water comes out of a faucet.
Tom?
The problem is this, the second meter that we're talking about, the sprinkler meter. That water is not for domestic consumption, it's only for sprinkler. So it only goes on the grass. You can't use that for your toilet or anything else. So therein lies the difference. That's why you don't pay any sanitary charge on it, because it's strictly used on the outside. That meter cannot be connected to the domestic supply.
Sir,
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was the same water.
No. It's the same water coming in, but there's what they call backflow preventer on the sprinkler meter, so it can't mix with the other water.
Okay.
There's a baffle off.
Okay.
So I understand what you're
I
saying.
got an education. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I still think it's worth looking into the financial impact. And this piggybacks off of something that I was going to bring up under any and all, as far as our building fees that I'll talk more under any and all, but I do feel that people in town that try to upkeep their property to the best of their ability are paying inordinately more than others. And
right, and I would certainly agree that it's still hot after August 18th. So I wouldn't have any problem, at least determining what the impact would be to.
I think that's the information you need to have.
Right.
Because
Okay.
I can tell you, I know my bill went up well over $100 this last month too.
Yeah.
So I feel you. I'm in the same spot.
Any other citizen input? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Joe Gasconi, 1423 Bacalash. Last meeting was mid-September. I had brought up the issue of the train horn. And I trust that Tom had sent you this. It's on the work study. It's called a work study.
it's the work study, we're going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. So should I continue or no?
Why don't you wait till we discuss it and we can take it.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got a whole folder on it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just heard citizen something. or
Right,
other.
right.
You can talk about it.
So I'll wait and then talk after that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had a study session, yes.
There were some questions that Tom gave me and answered, but then there were some that weren't.
Sure.
So,
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm back. And we're now at 1216 Lake Street. Unfortunately, you're stepping into my hornet's nest. The property owner at 1222 Lake Street, again, I have pictures of his backyard. Police came over last week, Thursday, told him his front lawn needed to be cut, he cut it. But that backyard is a disaster. He's supposed to go in front of the judge October 27th. I want to know what's the remedy the town is seeking. Are you just seeking $185, $50 fine, $135 court cost, or are you looking to?
I can answer that if you would like. I'm well aware of this situation when I took over. What has been filed and is up for hearing is just seeking to recover the fine. Since I took over, there are additional remedies available, including injunctive relief, which is a bit more involved in the process, but I think it'll get you what you want. And that's what we are starting to initiate right now.
So then you'll still go, well, it's a video hearing. Because everything's public record, so I got everything. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and ask the former town attorney from last month because he can't defend himself, but I just want to make sure that this is gonna get resolved.
We are.
Correct.
It's been over 3 months now.
You're right. We've got several places in town like that.
Commander Carroll, David, are you familiar with?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to it. One of the things that code enforcement's objective is compliance. You'd rather see it fixed than a ticket reported for 6 months down the road. So on this particular case, there's some extenuating circumstances that we won't elaborate here on the individual owner of the house. He asked if I get the front yard done, and we meet again and work and get a game plan for this backyard. This backyard is bad. It's not just hire the neighborhood kid to clean this up. It's in need of a little bit more than that.
Gonna be bush whacked.
Yes, so Commander Carroll made a situation where get the front done, and then we'll re-meet out here to have the second part of this plan. And that is, again, completely separate from the citations that are already been filed, and working on it. So I do know that the front has some attention to it.
It was cut Friday, last Friday.
And I do know that they're working on a game plan for the back. There's some fixtures in back that need probably be removed to make it easier for maintaining. So,
Right. And I just, because the last 2 meetings, it was kind of like I just kind of got blown off.
Yeah.
And it's because.
Not intentionally by Commander Carroll.
I know.
He's on it.
Commander Carroll, and, in fact, and I'm gonna have to seek remedy myself.
Yes.
Because it's gonna knock my property value
Sure.
down.
Sure.
Taken care of.
Thank you for
With the wind didn't die down, the little bit of vinyl fence he's got is probably already laying on its side again. So,
If it's okay, can I see the pictures?
Thank you for keeping us posted, though.
coming back.
Thank you. Is the address on here too?
Yes, it's on.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Do we have any other citizen input? Yes. Name and address?
Hi, my name is Eve.
Yes.
Hello? Hello? Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Ivana Spedia. I am here to talk a little bit about the things that Mr. Stephen Kramer and Eric Schultz have mentioned. Listen, I understand that in regards to the attorney thing, if you don't like the firm or you don't like the location, all that, that's all between you. And by the way, I want to thank you guys for all the work you're doing. I'll be honest, it's my first time here at one of these meetings. I think you're all doing a great job. This is really good. When you came to talk about that issue and everything. I like, how you mentioned your concerns and everything, Mr. Kramer. Sorry if I said it wrong. But I think there's one important piece that the Times and a lot of people do not know. My husband is married to an immigrant. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm half Italian, half Macedonian. Not Macedonian. And I'm here to just let you know that if you're trying to, or if the media or anyone's trying to make him look anti-immigrant or racist, that is not true. My husband is married to an immigrant. Okay, we speak Spanish at home for our children. Okay, I teach Italian as well, and a lot of other languages. I'll go on more of my bio. You can read the Google words. I have a website. It breaks my heart when people are trying to make him look like a anti-immigrant or a racist. So I would really appreciate Mr. Kramer and Mr. Schultz if you can please, take the article down on your Facebook, Mr. Kramer, and
Which
give him a
one
chance
is that?
to prove to him as a lawyer. Not, don't talk about those, that he said this, he said that. Who hasn't said stuff in the past that they regret on Facebook or anywhere? Come on. And how can you prove that he said that?
Who?
That I'm talking to you, the Times, and anybody else who wants to bring those articles from the past back. Okay? So I would really appreciate it. You know, you're judging him wrong. We're talking about a man who knows 5 languages, who's married to an immigrant family. My parents and I came here 31 years ago. We worked hard. We learned English. We all went to college. We are entrepreneurs. You know, he teaches my son. He speaks Spanish, Italian, you know, Latin, French, German, so many languages. Top of that, I'm sure a lot of you guys don't know, he was even part of a mariachi band years ago. So try not to make him, you know, don't, please. I ask the Times especially to stop trying to make him look like anti-immigrant or racist, because that's not true. Everything else I respect. Any questions for me? Anyone?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay,
Hey, thank
so
you.
much for your time.
Thank you.
No, thank you, but I will reply, and it's nothing against you. It's nothing against, I never said anything about anti-immigrants. All I speak is the facts, and I quote our attorney from what he wrote. Not my words, his. And those words were very, very upsetting to me and many other people. I don't have to explain them or justify them. The person who wrote them does. Now, I'm happy you're happy. I'm happy everyone else is happy with it. I'm just saying I sure as hell ain't happy with it. I expect an apology from some of the things that were said because I felt they were directed toward me. But, you know, I'm here to listen. I appreciate you coming up and talking. You did very well for yourself. You should be proud. I'm proud of your children. So thank you for coming here tonight.
Thank you. Please, if you can remove those articles and stop trying to make my husband look wrong, that would be great, because it's really wrong. You need to get to know him better first before you just assume any media writes about someone. That's not right.
Again, I will let you know if you want to see it. I'm sure you read it, his writings. It says by Adam Cedia, Adam J. Cedia. And listen, I'm not going to beat the dead horse. You're supposed to stand up for him. I appreciate that. I just want to look at things factually. The factual information by the writing this man wrote upsets me and many, many other people. So I'm just going to leave it at that. If you were listening, my last statement on voting down his contract was, if we have any further discussion, I'd like it to be between him and I. That's what I believe between people should talk about their issues. And if we can come to resolution, all the better. But, you know, we felt like our rights were disrespected here too.
Is there any other citizen input?
And some moving to go forward. As you see, we voted together on many issues up here. We know how to separate. We've been doing this for quite a while. There's experience, there's knowledgeable people on both sides. I respect every member of the council out here. We do not often agree, but most of the time we have been agreeing. If you look at the minutes, it's 5-0. So when something is dramatically changed, excuse me, ma'am, when something is dramatically changes, that's what happened.
Do we have any and all?
Yes, any and all. I would like to, actually, I heard from a number of parents, they would like to have the Halloween hours extended to start at 4, since Halloween falls out of Saturday. And I understand, Chief, this won't be an issue with the police department if we start at 4 instead of 5 on Halloween.
We're here for you.
Okay, I would just make a motion that we extend Halloween hours from 4 to 7.
I'll second that motion. I was just going to bring that up too.
Any
A lot
discussion?
of parents were asking since it's on Saturday.
Do I go to Alan for the extra candy I'm going to need to buy? Does that work?
We'll all be at his house.
No, I think it's a great idea. It's a Saturday. Weather's supposed to be beautiful. Please don't yell at me if it's bad now. Yeah, no, it's.
That night.
Yeah.
Midnight,
Yes.
Extra hour to get your pumpkins.
Do we have a roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any and all?
Yeah, I'd like to see us look into our fee structure for building projects that people do around their house. We want to encourage people to go through the town, do their projects legitimately, have them come out and get looked at, go through the proper permitting process. well, when you see this, the residents are paying $400 or $500 to do a permitting project, I think we're deterring people to go and do the project and hope they don't get caught. I'd be interested in looking at our fees versus other towns. Earlier in the year, we made a concerted effort to reduce our fees for businesses as a way to encourage businesses to come into Dyer. I'd like to see us do something for the residents of this town to encourage them to remodel their homes, to fix up their homes, instead of putting, again, like we saw with the water, people that want to water their lawns are getting hit hard as soon as that time frame ends.
I totally agree. I just heard that there was someone out there with a deck, and the permit was $500. And I have to tell you, as a councilman, I would probably have just built the deck.
Have you seen, I don't know the circumstance, do you have an address?
No.
I've got information on one in particular, but
no, I would agree.
I understand what you're
When you do
saying.
those kinds of things, it's important to let us check. Let's find out if in fact it's completely accurate or there was other stuff going on.
Right.
And I'd like to see, as I understand, we shouldn't be losing money on that process, but I also don't want to see that as a revenue generator.
Sure.
When someone wants to fix up their
Want
house,
people to keep
we
up
should be
their house.
encouraging
Small
people to fix
permits are
up their
generally
house.
not a revenue generator.
And Eric, I don't think any rates have been changed in over 20 years on those permits.
We've been looking at the fees and stuff. We'll get
Okay.
you a summary of fees. We have that, I think. fairly
Yeah.
current.
Yes, we do. Good idea.
Okay, any and all? You have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All those in favor, a voice vote?
Aye.
And we will continue on with the Redevelopment Commission meeting. You have before you a consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the September 16, 2020 Redevelopment Commission meeting, claims totaling $401,253.73. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do you have a second?
I don't think you can.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah,
at-
you
he wasn't
can't.
at
I
the
was going to say that, but do
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Roll call?
I have a discussion
Yes.
or questions on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line down on the accounts.
And claims?
Yeah, the claims for 10/6 and then the 10th line down for 10/6/2020, same dates, same description, which is appraisal of northeast corner on Sheffield, and go down, the other one's appraisal of northeast corner of Sheffield, and 2 different prices,
Two different appraisers.
2 different
One was
appraisals.
able to get into the facility, so it's a more detailed appraisal, and the other one wasn't allowed to get in. That's
And the higher one
these
would
guys
be,
are within dollars of, it's the same price.
okay,
The
But you
one
can't
guy
get
couldn't
inside.
in, So it's a lesser report, but it still gives us what we needed.
okay.
That's what it is. I forgot which one couldn't get in, but.
Well, it'd probably be the lower one.
Yeah. the lower
Yeah.
one is that big
I'm hoping it would be.
jail. Those are the two guys that have done our work for us.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Aye. We have old business and project updates. That's good news.
I'm gonna send you a link. Hassie has a service that they take progress pictures of the construction. So I'll send you that link out, and you can see that, and we'll post it. Things are moving along. We had pre-construction. Mike mentioned that we had pre-construction yesterday was on the concession stand, so that'll get started pretty soon. We got a lot of people bumping in and out of everybody at Central Park. We have one small problem on the sanitary line and water line that was put in on 213th Street. Rex, through no fault of ours, cut off the sanitary line for the fire station that's there. So we've got a bit of a problem. So then we gotta go back and repair that, and it's gonna be their problem. But there's gonna be another smaller excavation out in the road, and we'll have to patch that up, which is unfortunate, because we got a nice road finish on 213th Street. But fire station's moving along, the fields look great. What do you say, they're about 60% complete, right? And the pond's working. So in that regard, it's pretty good.
That one pond, will it always have water in the bottom of it?
The way it's
Okay,
designed is
that's
a
what I
wet
wanted to ask
pond.
for. Yeah.
And the tenant's gonna have a lot of geese too, so.
Okay.
I'd be too surprised at some point we're having a goose dog.
We'll be hearing about that.
We have fire station number 2, change order request number
Yeah.
10.
I just got that last night.
Right.
It's for the transformer, the field condition change order, so it says request you approve it, and then they'll send me the documents and we'll sign it. 8430. Provide for the drainage for the proper placement of the transformer. which was-
You need a motion to approve the change order?
Motion to approve change order request number 10 for West Side Building Drainage.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. We don't have any new business, citizen input? Any and all?
This would be any and all under, I should have done it under town council. When will we switch the format to citizen input up front? That was part of Bob's change to the agenda. To allow people to come in and get things off their mind. If they want to leave, they can leave instead of grinding it out for
That's
an
fine.
hour meeting.
You have anything to say? You agree?
No, next meeting will be just
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine. Do you have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we have our town council work study session, beginning with Brad Miller from Indiana Landmarks for Myers Castle. Thank you for coming this evening.
structure.
Okay,
And in this case, it's not just the building, but it's the ground.
right,
Right.
It's a
right,
tax property that was all part of Meyer's idea for that
yes,
that location. So getting a better understanding of what we can do. Obviously, part of that also is talking with the right architects and engineers
right.
to get that information down on paper, so that we can deal with real facts and figures rather than throwing absurd numbers around to
Sure.
see how much it might
So our next step is to just engage the property owner.
I think our next step would be, if we can come to a consensus, is to authorize Attorney Cedia to draft a ordinance so we can create a historic preservation commission.
Yeah, the first thing to do is to set up the committee.
Okay,
And you want to consider, are there other properties in town that this would be useful for?
sure.
Can I ask a simple question?
Yes,
How you gonna pay for all this?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna give you money. There may be some, the point is, you take on these buildings,
yeah,
the private property owner wants to sell the building and get out of business.
right,
That's no different than what happened in East Chicago with Walgreens and the First National Bank East Chicago at Boulevard and Chicago Avenue. That was on the list. But the owners of that building sold it and it's now gone.
torn down, yeah,
Drive-through.
Well, I mean, my understanding is, if we create this commission, it basically gives us a seat at the table with the owner as far as if he wants to sell it to become Meyer's fireworks stand, then we can have some say so and say that's not the proper use for this building.
That was the Plan Commission to do the same thing. In terms of zoning.
My understanding is that making this a historic landmark will make it more difficult for them to sell, because the requirements for repair and rehab they'll have to meet certain specific requirements from the period that it was built.
I know what you're trying to.
Right.
I know it's just hard to get to that goal. It's not quite as easy as, let's just get 7 people or 10 people and do something. There's a cost involved in all this stuff, and there's got to be a economic way in which you're going to finance those kinds of things.
So I will speak, the Myers Castle is on the National Register of Historic Places. That's a national federal designation. It also carries down to the state level in a different way. With those designations, the property owner is allowed to do as they please with that property. If they were to tear it down, obviously that has been the most tasteful thing to do in the public eye. But legally that's allowed. So the Preservation Commission, again, this is used frequently across the state, sets up a body appointed by the local government to designate properties as local historic districts or single site districts, in this case, the castle. And then to work with the property owner and the community, obviously there's community input to figure out what could be done to that property and how to preserve it into the future. The commission legally can take possession of the building, but most commissions don't do that across the state. It's more just giving the local government another tool and the community another tool to help figure out how we can preserve this building as its uses and owners change. So it certainly doesn't, again, the Planning Commission has its place in that in terms of zoning and what the use is, but this actually says the commission has the ability to, again, make sure that it's not going to be demolished. If it were to be turned into a fireworks stand and they put a tent out instead, So there's different levels of protection. Local is the only one that really offers real protection, whereas the state and federal that's already designated does not provide protection.
okay,
And certainly there are other, if this commission were to be set up, it would have the ability to look at other historic resources in the town that are worthy of these designations. It doesn't have to, in other communities, it's whole neighborhoods or single site buildings.
sure,
That's one way for, again, the community to have a say in that building, because it is a real part of local history and culture. And you get to look at it, it's beautiful. But at the same time, it doesn't, it still is allowed to function as a private entity.
Right. Also, what makes that property special, it's the last remaining dune on this part of US 30. So you'd hate to see, even if you demolish the castle, you'd hate to see the dune get leveled.
And also mention that I also sit on the board of the Indiana Lincoln Highway Association. And just mentioning that that's a prominent
It is.
landmark on the Indiana Lincoln Highway.
Yes, it is.
So it's, again, we're happy to help. I'm happy to help in any way that I can, whether that's talking with the property owner, working with the town here to look into what does a commission look like, how could that serve the people of Dyer, and we're all hands on deck if that's what everyone would like.
Alan, as you're talking about the desire to preserve the site, is the building on the register or the site?
Legally, it's the whole
The
parcel that would
parcel,
be,
including the structures?
yes.
Right.
Brad, is there any others around here, other communities that have historical landmarks or commissions that we could look at for an example?
Commissions, a lot.
Crown Point.
I consult, I have contracts with the town, with the city of Crown Point and Hobart, Hammond, Gary, Lowell, the whole Newton County. The whole county has a preservation commission. LaPorte, Michigan City, Valparaiso. That's it for most of Northwest Indiana.
So we can.
And again, it's something that's it's been done for decades across the state successfully, and we've seen its impact.
So we can find information on these cities and towns that you named and counties online to see what their commission has actually done, and what they're doing.
I can provide kind of a summary of just straight numbers of what they've done. The most easy example is Crown Point. They're downtown
Courthouse.
as a district, and they have 3 other residential districts around the downtown.
I just want you to understand, you get into this, it's not a free ride.
Yes.
It's gonna be one more draw on people demanding resources. Simplest way to keep the dune where it is now, have the property. To the new controller. As the town. I mean, that's the battle you fight with these kinds of things. That's the unfortunate reality of it all.
Yeah.
I'll meet with Brad and we'll get some more, we'll get you some more detailed information.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
We have the quiet zone railroad crossings. Your turn.
Okay, well, okay, so again, my name is Joe Casconi and I live right along Sheffield there, but last meeting, we heard that about 30 residents in that community had contacted town council in one form or another, emails, letters, or phone calls, expressing concern yet again about the train horns, you know, especially at night between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. I came to the meeting and I spoke and I had some questions and Tom said, hey, why don't you submit those in writing by email and I'll answer them. And I did contact you all, I think earlier this week on Monday. Maybe it was over the weekend I sent saying, you know, I haven't heard anything yet. I didn't even know there was a meeting today. So it was just timely, so that's great. I did get a report of some sort. It's a memo to president and members of the town council. And many of these, some of these questions were answered. Some weren't. So Tom sent me an email personally and said, hey, you know, this is going to be discussed at the town council meeting. And some of the things that I noticed that weren't answered though were, are quiet zones enforced in Dyer and how? And then secondly, is there a way to conduct a study to find out how many times horns are blown between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. in close proximity to residences? And what are the train horns decibels at each? You know, what's the impact on children who are trying to sleep for the next day of school or parents who are trying to go to sleep for the next work day? We all know that people have bought these homes on their own accord, but at the same time, if there can be something done, I sure would love to explore what that is. What is the, now, I noticed in this report or whatever this was, it says under these rules, we cannot apply we cannot apply for a quiet zone at 213th. If we were to offer to close 215th Street and install gates at 213th, we may be able to do a quiet zone there. We would have to pay for the required safety measures. This cost is significant. So I'd love to know, what is the cost for the safety measures? I mean, gates are always a good idea. And I know 213 seems to be the one that, obviously the intersection that's used the most, especially going toward Calumet, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a new resident here, so. But I would love to know, what would it take to do just that? How much money? What is the significant cost entail? And then it said, if we are interested, we should seek a consultant with this expertise to study and evaluate the feasibility for the quiet zone designation at 213th. I say amen, and hopefully you do too. Let's see here. And then I just did want to mention what I had put on your letter. I hope you town council members have received it. Basically saying, look, I was at the last meeting, and I know $52,000 is going to be spent on an architectural firm to not only do the good work that's necessary for assessing the HVAC system and the mold, but also including just renovating the building. And I had said, I bet most, if not all, residents in that corridor along Sheffield would want money to go toward quiet zone even more than renovating your beautiful town hall as it stands now. As far as mold goes, that's what I do for a living. So I'll just give Tom a few cards, because I had offered Robbie's, no charge whatsoever. Any architectural firm is going to hire a company like mine anyway to come in and assess exactly what's going on with the mold in this building, if anything at all, with testing and visual inspection. I'll do that for free, and then that architectural firm won't have to spend your good money and mine on a mold company like mine, and we'll do it at no cost. So Tom, here you go. I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm not going to address mold or building stuff, but I'm going to talk about the quiet zone that I gave you. This is not the first time this has been brought up. Some of you may recall, this goes back when I came here in 16, there were plans to do the median that finally got done. Going back probably to 13 or 14, whatever it was an NDOT project. Now, we were paid, we were reimbursed fully for that. I first thought that was the last step before going to the quiet zone. I was informed then that we hadn't done the quiet zone stuff. Quiet zones require a considerable amount of work. They're a very specific thing. Is Neil still here? Neil's here. Neil and I had this conversation lately as this afternoon. We've had it before when we were talking about the Sheffield thing. The rules for a quiet zone are in this package of material. Sheffield Avenue would qualify as a possible quiet zone because the rule number one is they got to be a half a mile apart. You can see what we've got. What I suggested with 215 was out loud thinking, because you've got to get the spread between intersections so you can have a half mile. And the only way to do that is to close a crossing. Railroads love when you close crossings. Residents, maybe not so much.
Right.
But maybe there's a trade-off and there's an alternate way around there with some streets we've got going. I've been in places where we've closed multiple crossings and traded them off. I've been in other places where it's impossible to close a crossing because there weren't very many of them. So you can look at the internet and find out what kind of train horns there are, and there's all kinds of different decibel levels, and that's why I didn't pick one to put in here. But I gave you the history and the timeline of train horns. My advice to you is this: if you want to pursue this, but Neil and I, we're going to talk to, it's NCON, isn't that right, Neil? AECOM, which is a group that does a lot of these. And we would get a proposal from them to give to you and let them handle. This is a fairly technical thing. You know how much trouble we've had with the bike path, and that shouldn't be that hard. This is a lot more about, they do this. And as Neil said, he's never come up on top in terms of what he thinks is going to cost versus doing T&M. There's a long process. And now to answer the question, I'm going to tell you that I've seen improvements in crossings costing in excess of $200,000 for all the stuff that has to happen. Because it's not just a set of gates. It's the positive traction and it's all kinds of other stuff. So you've got to have the facts in front of you
Sure.
as to what it's going to be. And this is not
How much is
something
it?
that can get done in 6 months or 12 months. We had another request for 77th Street, if you recall, way back when.
Right.
I talked to Dwayne, and that would have to be a county thing. And what I would do is approach Dwayne and say, let's put these two projects together and see what you want to do. But it's up to you if you want to get a proposal from these guys and go from there. That's why it's on the agenda.
I like the idea of getting professional opinions on it and recommendations. I know we looked at this about 10 years ago and we brought in the railroad. We started this process, and Tom's right. It's long and drawn out. And at that time,
it is.
Everyone suggested to close down 215th there,
Really?
including the railroad. The residents at that time did not want it. So it was dropped. But I think as I talked to all along Harrison and the other 30 people who contacted me, I think there's a change in their feeling. They may opt to close it down and see if we can get a quiet zone, sort of utilize 213th and put up what we have to do to help them out. But I really like the idea of, and usually I'm just jumping out and saying, let's do it. But I'm learning, let's get an expert in here or the group and let's see where
I
we're
think
at.
that there's a consensus here to do that.
And one more is, there was a question regarding enforcement. As a general matter, federal rail regulations supersede all local and state enforcement mechanisms. In fact, there's an Indiana Supreme Court decision a couple of years ago where they said all state regulations on railroads are preempted by federal regulations. So it would be a fine generally or some other sanction administered from the Federal Rail Administration rather than, if the town tries to give them a ticket, the railroad will laugh at it.
But Dave, what's the fine? Was it 250? For blocking the crossing? Yeah. We, how trains block crossings for extended periods of time. And we give tickets out. And exactly what Adam's talking about is $250. You got it up for a cup of coffee. This is the railroad because it's part of their business. They just build it. It's frustrating as hell to all these people. And we've worked with railroads trying to get them to park trains at a certain point to so they can go through. And that's why they like closing crossings and stuff. But the one that this one we're talking about here, it really impacts a lot of people.
Yeah.
The train stopped all the traffic.
Right.
There's no good way to do it. So you're not going to get that relief from that. But let us have an engineering group look at this and give you what's going to work. And you can decide if you want to do it.
Okay.
And maybe you got a way to negotiate with the railroad if we talk about closing a crossing. And I've always had the feelings if I could get some small little town, I could pay them money to close a crossing, take that credit like you buy pollution credits, and then go to the railroad and say, hey, I got a crossing closed in Podunk. Does that work? If it's on the same line, probably not. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
I'm 5 doors down from the train tracks up on the Sheffield side, and I've been eagerly waiting for decades for a quiet zone up there. So I'm
A lifetime.
Yeah, a
Well, I'm
lifetime.
not promising you're going to get it because there's a lot of crossings there.
Yeah.
Is it possible to start budgeting small chunks of money away now in the event, in the hopes that this all does come to fruition and it's not such an impact at the time that we choose to
I
pull the
schedule
trigger?
in the bond issue is what I do once I know what it is. We got money in every bond issue. I don't, I can find out what we'll get an estimate from these guys of what they typically cost. But I'd rather just schedule it. It's going to happen in 23 or 24. They tell us for 22, and we move it into a capital thing rather than taking money out for something that may or may not happen. Planning is better than fall. Projects wait their turn in line, and then when they get to the line, they take what they need. That's how we do with Central Park. So
I
understand what you're saying.
I definitely think it's a worthwhile project from a noise standpoint, also a public safety standpoint.
Sure.
We have had accidents there. We have had cars get hit by a train.
Yes.
I live a few blocks away from there, and you have to creep up to see if there's a train coming. You have to creep up pretty close to the tracks to see if there's a train coming on 215. So I think it's a good project.
All right, we'll meet with them and get some proposals.
Okay, thank you. We have donations to outside groups. We had a request from,
I need a little direction philosophically.
Okay.
It isn't, it's just these.
we've been
people
asked
come
so
all
many
the time.
times. Yeah.
They come all the time.
No, we have several others.
Well, I'm saying they come all the time.
Yeah.
And what do you want me to do? I mean, the problem is you start handing out the one, you start handing out the other.
Correct.
The groups that you make donations to principally are the South Lake County Community Services, which provide a specific need to a specific group.
Yes.
And that's a community-wide benefit. Not everybody gets it, but people that get it. And of course, the other one is the safety village. Those
Yep.
are the two that you've committed to, and quite frankly, we budget for those things. There is always some debate as to whether or not you should be budgeting money to give out to local groups. You know, if you're gonna give every local group $500, then you put it in a pot, you give it out. But you know, we got requests from, I've seen requests from individuals.
Yes.
I want to go to this thing, and I need to do that. Will you sponsor me for $500 or $50 and stuff like that? That's not the kind of thing you should use the taxpayer dollars.
You know, I think that this is our own personal responsibility, that if things come in like that if we wish to donate personally, that's our decision.
But don't we have the township on this list too that we donate every year?
No, we don't. We made a one-time donation with the township to help them put
Right. The doors in.
doors in. That was all we did.
And before that, we haven't donated any?
No, they've not asked for any other request. There was that one capital
Yep.
request. They, in fact, we get about $30,000 a year for fire protection. We just started the same time Kathy took over, so I think she asked us for. They were
5.
replacing
Yeah.
3 or 4 doors in St. John and Cherville and Dyer put money in. And I mean, that's another nonprofit 501c3.
And there's benefit to that
You
too.
know, but I think she was just started trying to sort all her money. and trying to
Right.
get that.
And then recently, we all received letters on this baby box. Where
The baby
new
box,
moms
yeah, the baby
could-
box is the other group in here that,
Yeah.
do you want to make a contribution to that? Now that's again got, you know, it's a community-wide kind of a thing. Do you want to make a contribution to that? Understanding that you will not have that facility in Dyer.
It's in
Correct.
Cherville from what I
It's in
understand.
Cherville because it has to be, under the terms of those grants, it has to be put in a facility that's manned 24 hours a day, and it can't be a police department.
And I
Because I
think,
was all for
Right.
putting it over across the street, but it's gotta be at a fire station as well, or a hospital.
Or a hospital, yeah.
So
medical
that's.
facility.
and if you want to contribute to that individually, you're more than welcome to do
But-
that.
So I guess I'm giving you 2 different things. You got these 2 requests. One is for, Tri-Town Raiders, I think
Right.
they call the football team. They obviously involve most of the people. Then you turn around, you got Little League, you got Babe
Yep.
Ruth, you got the soccer group and stuff. Some of which we provide facilities for as a joint benefit, but we don't normally give them treasure, if you will.
Right.
In what you want to do. The baby thing is, I think, a rather unique kind of a project. You got to decide in yourself if you think a Dyer person is going to be able to go to wherever this facility is going to be. They won't publicize it until it's open, but it's got to be one of the fire stations that's manned. There's only
Right.
that's a fairly easy guess. But so that's the kind of direction I'm looking for you when we get these things in. These I take and these I don't.
As far as the baby box, I think it's a great idea. I mean, if we would have put it at the station in town, it was about a $15,000 expense.
Yeah.
It's basically a one-time donation. I don't see a problem with
There
it.
are some
Yeah.
nickel and dime
There
annual
are.
Right.
expenses,
Yeah.
but you're right though, Alan.
Right.
Yeah.
The big money is up front.
Right.
And I don't think the expectation was for us to pay the full 15,000. I
No.
think it
No,
was just
no.
a portion, and then there was a maintenance cost and fee.
There's an
that-
annual cost
Sure.
for licensing.
Right.
So those.
So I've been, something like that's unique and pertaining to the moms, new moms and the babies. I think that's well worth it. Some of the other ones that come before us, I don't know if we can set aside a specific budget or a certain amount, because I would be afraid that it'd be first come, first serve, and then we're out of money,
No.
and we get something really important like this.
That's why I
and then
said
we're saying,
personal
what the hell's going on?
responsibility. You're choosing to
Yeah.
donate to whomever you wish. I mean, depending upon what kids are involved in or whatever.
Come up with a policy, but I kind of like to know know what you think.
I think we
Yeah,
do
you
need
can
some
go with the
type
budget
of,
amount.
Yeah.
You Put 5 grand in or 50 grand in, that, whatever you want.
But I'm afraid we'd run out and then
Yeah.
by the end of the year, we wouldn't have it. So I don't know if it's on a case by case
Right.
basis. Maybe we set aside some parameters that these are the ones that we constantly do. And then here's the next category on consideration. And then the third category would be, as Mary said, you know, if we're interested, let's get together and donate our own money.
Sure.
right?
And
you
we've
know,
done
if-
that
if we're
countless
gonna be-
times before.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be consistent, you know, it's interesting that we're talking about a $4,800 sports sign for
Right.
Tri-Town, when we had no problem dropping $3 million on ball fields. You know, if we're doing the ball fields because those organizations can't do it themselves, then it applies to this, and we've opened the door, we've opened the floodgates.
Well,
We've decided we had $3 million to spend on a couple ball fields. So-
$3 million to spend in a park.
No, ball fields. I make a motion that we approve $4,819.71 to Tri-Town.
Well,
They're not asking for 48.
Well, let's give it to them.
I tend to lean toward what you're saying, but if we're going to do a couple donations, let's consider a couple of the others and get it all done tonight.
Yeah,
If that's the will.
So-
I mean, we'll piggyback on two cents.
Bob, can I share my thoughts before we start
Sure.
making motions? Yeah, I feel that if we are going to look at making donations, then we need to look at the membership. What percentage of that group is actually Dyer residents? Let's look at the number of people involved. Is this going to benefit 4 people or 400 people? I think we do need, before we move forward on any of this, we do need to set some sort of policy before even considering, because this will never end.
Yes.
There's
That's why. Yes.
there's an endless amount of great causes.
Yes.
And if we want to pass the hat amongst us every month to donate to some of these, then we can do that. But I don't think,
I think all of us do anyway.
I don't think we need to use
And so I think the
taxpayers.
first thing we
money.
need to do is figure out how many Dyer residents are gonna use those ball fields, divided by 3 million, and that's what we do every year. It sounds absurd, but that's what we did.
Eric, to answer your question, that's exactly how we do the South Lake County thing. We only pay for the Dyer residents.
Exactly.
That's how our amount goes 5 to 7 grand a year, but it's only based on the direct service.
Correct.
Because a lot of the other communities do exactly the same thing and they pick up their share.
And it's not even the number of people that go out there for lunch, go out to the community center for lunch. It's not part of it.
Can I offer one thing? For a police department, there's a sponsorship program for the academy for us, and it's constantly being requested of us to sponsor a division for the academy. We require the requester to put a sheet of paper, like an essay of how this will impact, how you're related, how this is better to the town of Dyer, your request. It limits the requests from 100% down to 10% of the amount of time people are going to put together one sheet of paper to tell you why this is beneficial for the town of Dyer and its residents. If you do something like that, then they can explain to you why they're asking for your tax dollars in Dyer to a program that they feel is going to, impact.
It's like a
There's
filter.
zero impact to the town of Dyer, which probably shouldn't even be considered.
And that's, the plan is to, if you want to do something like this, we'll put together a proposal that you could have some guidelines. So that limits the number of.
I would agree with that, as long as it limits the guidelines. Yeah.
Yeah, because something like the baby box, obviously, is completely different than a scoreboard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of kids from Dyer that play football with the Tri-Town Raiders. I think that's it's a capital improvement. They're going to buy a scoreboard, probably shouldn't have issues with it for 20 years, we hope. The baby box, who knows who's going to use it?
Right.
But if we put up, say, 5,000 between the, 5,000 for each town, it's covered. If it helps save one kid, it's worth $5,000, easy.
Put a limit on it?
Motion on the
20,000?
floor.
You have a motion waiting for.
This is a study session, right?
Yeah, this is noticed as a.
Yeah,
study
no
session.
decision.
Right. Right. We put it on the agenda for the 28th?
Well, I'll try to get something written.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to know, you all know what I want to know.
Okay, last thing on the agenda, it's not on your agenda. We had the salary increases for clerks. Debbie requested.
This is information that I question for the clerk's office. As you read through the cover, go to the second, you'll notice that there is no increase for the utility clerk or the clerical staff for deputy for part-time, newer associates, employees. The increases for the chief deputy, clerk treasurer, accounting supervisor with the CPA, and the records clerk. The records clerk affected the other departments. But you'll see like it's $1.06 increase for the records. For chief deputy, it's 3. For the account supervisor is $2.50. Account supervisor with the CPA is 5. Right now, we do not have that position, but to go out and look for another account supervisor with the CPA, no one is gonna be working with that 53,265. I was lucky to have the account supervisor with me for a short time because he was leaving the last year and a half. Have postponed that. I would hope that the council will look at these pay increases for the next meeting to be retroactive to this next pay period coming up. Because the increase in what it is in their pay is already in my budget. And I'll still be able to give back, as you see, the clerk's office gave back each year. And this year I'm projecting a $30,000 give back on top of these increases, so I'll still have to give that. So these girls have worked diligently throughout the pandemic and plus taking on job responsibilities that they weren't cross-trained because some people refuse to cross-train people with what they do. It's been healthy. It's been very healthy for the department.
So you're proposing this for the salary ordinance, or you're proposing this for the next meeting?
For the next meeting, to be included to the salary ordinance for now, to be retroactive for this next pay period coming up. The only ones this does not include would be like the Tracy and the police fire, because she's not in this classification, or Tammy, which they're well deserving because, you know, I can't speak on for Dave or for Tom, but I work closely with both of them when it comes to everything in the town. So there's that.
Okay.
There's not a day that we don't go by without talking more than 3 times. We have anything in the office.
Okay.
What are Tracy and Tammy classified as? Are they?
Tammy is
They're in
the
different
administrative assistant
classifications.
to the town manager.
Okay.
What's Tracy's classification?
Tracy's public safety administrative assistant. And she is both police and fire.
All right, you want this on the regular agenda or the work study?
I think on the regular agenda.
Yeah, I think a regular
Yep.
agenda.
So if we're looking at suggestions for the study sessions on wages, annual salary increase, I see a 10% right off the top. And listen, I believe everyone deserves a raise every year. Not sure how much, but I would suggest that we put our effort in taking care of our first responders, such as the police and the fire. I know the DPW was asking and looking at parity in some of their wages too. These are our employees that are out in below zero weather, underground, cleaning up the sewage coming out. I mean, I really just feel for them. So if we're looking at what people are actually doing and what they're worth, I really want to look at the fire department. I know we looked at the police and did something. Yes, but I wouldn't put down not looking at them again. Our first responders, especially during this time, are utmost important. But one place we haven't looked in a while, I believe, is the fire department. And that's why I asked some information. And Department of Public Works. We
I
seen.
asked for a salary study and it got sidetracked, quite frankly. And it's still
All right,
why
I appreciate you asking for that, but this is what at least I would need to know, and this is my priorities right now, is our first responders and our Department of Public Works, direct line of taking care of our people, and I don't mind looking at increases for whoever, what their value is in their associated positions.
Give me some time to work on that.
Okay, that's it.
So
Thank you for.
Will this be on the agenda for the next meeting? clerk's office.
Yeah.
Because this is
I said it's fine.
I'm fine with it.
girls have
Fine.
gone beyond the distance
Bob?
with everything. And plus, we're doing payroll inside the town of Dyer for the first year in over 24 years. It was always
Yeah.
outsourced. So there is a lot that goes into it.
Neil wants to talk.
Yeah, that'll
Neil.
give us some time to look
Neil
at
wants
it.
to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like some more time to look at it and evaluate and look how it all fits in with the rest of the town, our priorities. I'm not saying that we don't want to do it. I just want more information to ascertain what we need to take care of our people, especially first responders.
With the budget being done, was there any plan in pay increases? Or,
Yeah, we basically, because we went from 27 pays to 26 pays, given the flu, but just under a 4% adjustment, so basically that's what we're doing. But there is always room to adjust. Individuals aren't the problem. We adjusted the police department mid-year and then reflected that in a 12-month cost, obviously, for 21. Right.
Again, is this going to be placed on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
Are we still going to look at it in another study session?
I asked for another study session.
To me, we know we need a study session for the police, and I'm all for the police, fire, and everybody else. But yes, we are just talking about women. And I think that's where Steve and I mean,
No.
being a union person.
Respectfully, I do not agree with that.
I'm talking.
Okay, and I did not mention women, so don't put that in there.
Other women are affected, we're being a little bit biased right now.
I
Without the clerk's office, there's no payroll, there's no resolution.
You want on the, you
Yes.
want on the
Yes.
agenda? Bob
Yeah.
on the agenda?
Everything else.
Well,
Bob on the agenda?
yeah, we can put it on the agenda, but I
The
mean, it still
agenda.
gives us a month to talk about it.
okay. If we
Neil.
can get another opportunity to discuss.
It's your
it.
floor.
I'll be brief. I didn't want to interrupt Tom during our discussions regarding bike crossings, but I will just want to temper everyone's expectations. If this was a
I didn't.
single intersection, Tom and I would get started tomorrow, and it would still take 2 to 3 years. Given the number that you have, I believe 6 to 7 just on the one line, and the many moving parts, what those costs were that the gentleman president had asked earlier, nobody knows because of the so many moving parts between the different crossings that you do currently have. So I think patience is the key here. We may be able to get that proposal by the next meeting. I would take the over on that for the December meeting, but we'll get started on it again this week.
And I think what we'll do when we meet with these guys, we'll get some ideas of what other crossings have cost their clients.
There may be some choices too. There may be some options.
Pardon?
There may be some options that we don't know.
Nah, there's not too many options.
Okay.
Right there.
The option is I'm going to give that gentleman Neil's phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Right,
you.
and this isn't an all or nothing. I mean, if we can say start at the north.
Well, if you get 77.
Or we can start at the south.
You get
Right,
77 and Sheffield are the two that would possibly qualify.
Right, because they
That
have,
doesn't help any of these people.
Oh, well, I'm
But you
talking
got
about
two
starting in the
crossings.
middle.
right.
So
That's
you
Yeah.
decide if
We
that's
got
a
the
win or
gates
not.
up there.
Yeah. So I just real quick, I correct the record. There were some misstatements. It has nothing to do with women or anything. It has to do with the individuals who are working and what their value is our town. I believe every single employee has value to it. We also agreed to look at it all. So it wasn't turned down, and please don't get so upset because you don't get your way. So let's just move on and try to get it done and get it done with some basic facts and some real good, reliable information. That's all I'd like to get done. Thank you. I think
And
we're
thank
done.
all of you for sitting through 3 meetings. We're good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We're finished.